Imagine a town so hot you could crack an egg on the sidewalk and watch it sizzle right in front of you. A place where the ground has been measured at a blistering 201 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 94 degrees Celsius. That is hot enough to give you third-degree burns in just a few seconds. When you step outside, it feels like you are breathing from a giant hairdryer. But this is the everyday reality for the 136 people who wake up and call this blazing basin home. Welcome to Furnace Creek in Death Valley, California. Back in 1913, Furnace Creek recorded an air temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 56.7 degrees Celsius, the hottest air temperature ever recorded on Earth. Just this past summer, the valley went through its hottest season on record with 9 straight days at or above a mind-melting 125 degrees Fahrenheit. On the worst nights, the temperature does not even fall below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, giving people absolutely no break from the heat. And this heat is not just uncomfortable, it is deadly. Park rangers face life-threatening heat emergencies several times a week. In one tragic case, a group of motorcyclists was overwhelmed by 128-degree temperatures. One man died, and another had to be rushed to the intensive care unit in an ambulance filled with ice. His brain, as one medic said, was essentially cooking. So the question is, how do 136 people live in this town and actually survive? Well, let's find out. But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So where exactly is this hell on Earth? Furnace Creek sits inside Death Valley National Park, right in the Mojave Desert of California. To find it on a map, you look for the place that seems to be sinking. This is the lowest point in all of North America, sitting at 190 feet below sea level. It's a colossal basin over 5,000 square miles, surrounded by towering, razor-edged mountain ranges. This combination of low altitude, dry air, and the valley's shape turns Furnace Creek into a natural pressure cooker. The perfect recipe for extreme, record-breaking heat. The people who call this place home can be broadly divided into two groups: the native Timbisha Shoshone people, for whom this valley is their ancient homeland, and the more recent arrivals who work for the park or local services. For the Timbisha Shoshone, survival in Death Valley is not a modern challenge, but a centuries-old way of life. Their deep ancestral knowledge has allowed them to thrive here for over 1,000 years. They know this land not as Death Valley, but as Sitaimbur, their ancestral homeland, and Tumpasa, or rock paint, named for the sacred red ochre found in the mountains. Their survival was a masterpiece of adaptation. They didn't just endure the heat, they moved with it. During the winter, they lived in conical brush houses on the valley floor near life-sustaining mesquite groves. When the summer sun transformed the valley into a furnace, they would migrate to cooler camps high in the Panamint Range or Grapevine Mountains, where they would harvest pine nuts and berries and hunt game. They weren't just passive residents, but active land managers, using controlled fires to clear scrub and stimulate the growth of desirable plants like tobacco, and pruning the low branches of mesquite and pinyon pine trees to make the beans easier to harvest and to prevent sand from building up into dunes that could kill the trees. For them, the valley was not a place of death, but a magical valley, a place of abundance. This ancient way of life was almost erased. After Death Valley was declared a national monument in 1933, the Timbisha were confined to a small, inadequate Indian village near Furnace Creek, with adobe houses that lacked electricity, running water, and air conditioning. The National Park Service, NPS, forbade them from their traditional hunting and gathering, and even began a campaign to evict them, systematically destroying their homes when they left to escape the brutal summer heat. Despite this pressure, the Timbisha, led by tenacious women like Paulina Steeves and Barbara Durham, refused to leave their homeland. After a decades-long fight, they achieved federal recognition and a monumental victory with the Timbisha Shoshone Homeland Act of 2000, which restored 7,500 acres of their ancestral land to them, making Death Valley the first and only U.S. national park to contain a federally recognized Indian reservation within its boundaries. Today, about 50 members of the Timbisha Shoshone tribe live at the Death Valley Indian community at Furnace Creek, while many others reside in nearby communities like Lone Pine. They continue to blend tradition with modernity. The tribal community works collaboratively with the NPS on co-management projects, such as restoring the vital honey mesquite and single-leaf pinyon trees that are crucial to their culture and diet. For the other residents, the park rangers, hotel staff, and service workers, survival hinges on modern technology and community, relentless air conditioning, staying hydrated, and restricting outdoor activity to the cooler early mornings and evenings, all while looking out for one another in one of the most extreme environments on the planet. And this extreme environment is exactly what draws over 1 million visitors each year. Furnace Creek is the vibrant, if unlikely, hub of Death Valley National Park. It's where tourists find the iconic Furnace Creek Inn, Campgrounds, the National Park Visitors Center, and the starting point for exploring sites like the Badwater Basin Salt Flats and Artists Drive. It's a place of stark contrast, where the comforts of a resort hotel sit within sight of the humble Indian village. Okay, so we've talked about how people survive in Furnace Creek, but here's the scary part: the challenge is getting even harder. The heat records we've been talking about aren't just ancient history, they're being challenged right now, and the entire ecosystem is feeling the strain. As the climate changes and global temperatures rise, Death Valley, the hottest place on Earth, is unfortunately getting even hotter. The data shows a clear and alarming trend. 7 of Death Valley's hottest summers on record have occurred in the last decade. This intensifying heat has devastating cascading effects. High in the Panamint Range, the mortality rate of ancient bristlecone pines, some of the oldest trees on the planet, has increased by about 70% in the last decade due to severe drought and bark beetle infestations fueled by the warming climate. About a third of the park's bird species have also declined over the last century due to heat stress. Even the critically endangered devil's hole pupfish, uniquely adapted to warm water, faces threats to its reproductive cycles if temperatures climb further. Perhaps most shocking of all, it's not uncommon for overnight lows to stay above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, with one ranger noting it was still 116 degrees at 10 p.m. during a heat wave, offering little relief to the people, plants, and animals that call this place home. So what do you think? Could you ever imagine spending a summer here? What kind of job do you think would be worth braving this kind of heat for? And perhaps most importantly, as the entire planet warms, what can we learn from the people who have already adapted to the extremes? If this journey to the literal hottest town on Earth surprised you, then do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures to the most extreme corners of our planet. Let me know your answers to those questions down in the comments below. Thanks for watching and stay cool out there.